She was still holding the garden shears when she hit the grass, not running toward me like I was someone she had missed, running like she was afraid she'd already missed the moment. I set my bag down on the driveway before she reached me. I don't know why. Maybe because she looked like she needed somewhere to aim, and I wanted to make it easy. She stopped 3 feet away, breathing hard, shears still in her left hand. One foot was bare. I noticed that immediately, and said nothing about it for a long time. My name is Marcus Avery. I'm 34. I work marine logistics, which means I coordinate cargo movement for a company that doesn't need me present for it to run, just reachable, and occasionally actually at sea when the situation is complicated enough to require a body on location. The last 6 months qualified: a disputed shipment, a port standoff. A winter I spent mostly in a cabin the size of a decent closet somewhere between the coast of Norway and a place I'm still not sure appeared on the map I was given. I live in a house on the edge of a cul-de-sac in a neighborhood that is quiet in the way places become quiet when most of the residents have been there long enough to stop being interesting to each other. The houses are close. The yards are separated by a low wooden fence that neither my neighbor nor I have ever suggested replacing, because it suits us both to be able to see over it. Her name is Claire Ashworth, 32. She teaches secondary school biology. She keeps a kitchen garden that she takes entirely too seriously for someone who describes herself as a casual gardener, and she has a habit of leaving one gardening glove on the fence post between our properties and forgetting to retrieve it until she needs it. There are currently, at any given time, between 2 and 5 gloves on that fence post, none of which are paired. I have never mentioned this. It seems important to her system. We met because I took her bin out on the wrong day. It's a longer story that involves a misread council schedule, and her standing in her driveway at 7 in the morning watching me with an expression that suggested she was deciding whether to be amused or offended. She chose amused. I've always been grateful for that. The dynamic between us is the kind that only exists between people who live close enough to have accidentally learned too much about each other. I know how she sounds when she's grading papers at midnight through the window she forgets to close. She knows I eat cereal for dinner on Sundays. We argued once about where the property line actually runs, which required 15 minutes and a tape measure, and ended in an agreement that neither of us had the energy to enforce. The line runs through the middle of the lavender bush. We both leave it alone. I told myself, for most of the 6 months I was gone, that I didn't think about her specifically. That I thought about home, and she was part of the general category. I knew it wasn't true by about month 2. The night before I left, I had finished loading the last of what I needed into the car. I went to check the side gate and found her already there, standing in the space between our driveways, holding a thermos of coffee I hadn't asked for, wearing a flannel she'd clearly grabbed from somewhere in a hurry. Her hair was still wet. It was late. She held it out like it was unremarkable. "You've got a 5 a.m. start," she said. "You're going to be awake for it one way or another." I took the thermos. "You didn't have to," I said. "I know," she said, in a way that closed the subject rather than opened it. I stood there for a moment, thermos warm in my hand, trying to name whatever was sitting between us in the cold air. I didn't get there fast enough. She said good luck. I said thanks. She went back inside. I stood in the driveway for longer than I needed to. The thermos had a small black rubber duck sticker on the side, a running joke from a trivia night 9 months ago in which I had, in front of several people, confused a duckling with a gosling. She'd found the sticker at a market and left it on the fence post next to the gloves without explanation. I'd moved it inside immediately. It came to Norway with me. I didn't tell her that. 6 months is long enough to miss things you didn't know you'd miss. The specific way my kitchen smells in the morning. The exact sound of this particular street when it rains at night. The fence post. The gloves. I didn't think about the gloves. I thought about the person who kept leaving them there and couldn't work out what to do with the feeling, so I filed it under logistics problems and tried to concentrate on the ones I was actually being paid to solve. Month 2, I got an email from a shipping contact, subject line reading "quick question," and my first thought, before I opened it, the first thought, automatic before I'd registered it, was that I hoped it was from Claire. She doesn't have my work email. She has my personal number, which she uses almost never, and only for things like there's a parcel on your doorstep, and once a message reading simply, "Your bin is out again." Collection was Tuesday. I don't know what I expected her to email me about. I just wanted it to be her. Month 3, I had a conversation with a colleague named Dimitri, somewhere in the corridor between the loading bay office and the canteen, in which he asked whether I had anyone at home. I said I had a neighbor. He asked if she knew that. I said she wasn't waiting for anything specific. She was my neighbor. He looked at me with the expression of a man who has been married for 22 years and has run completely out of patience for this specific category of answer. I did not find that comforting. It was accurate. Month 4, a junior coordinator on my team showed me a photo from his engagement dinner. He said he knew after 3 weeks. He said you just know when someone's the person you want to tell things to first. I said congratulations and went back to my desk and spent several minutes thinking about the fact that when the port standoff finally resolved after 11 days, the person I most wanted to call was a woman who had once accused me of theft for taking her bin out on a schedule I genuinely believed to be correct. Month 5, I thought about the thermos, specifically the sticker, and the trivia night, and the way she'd left it on the fence post without a note, like the context was obviously shared between us. Like she assumed I'd know exactly what it meant. I realized I had always known exactly what things meant with Claire, that we operated in a language of objects on fence posts and context that didn't need explaining. And I had been treating that as ordinary when it was not ordinary at all. Month 6, I stopped filing it anywhere and just missed her. Directly, without pretending otherwise. I thought about her laugh, the real one, the one that arrived when something caught her off guard and she didn't have time to make it smaller. I thought about the way she handed me the thermos, not like it was a gift, like it was a given. I thought about it a lot, and then I stopped thinking about it and just counted down. I pulled into the driveway on a Thursday afternoon in early April. The tree at the end of the street had gone into full bloom in my absence. The fence post had 3 gloves on it, which felt like the right number. The garden on her side of the fence had clearly had a productive winter. There was new growth along the border beds, things planted with intention. I had been traveling for 31 hours. I was not in the state a person wants to be in when something important happens. I had planned to sleep first. I had planned to be a functional human before I had any kind of conversation that mattered. I was pulling my bag from the boot when I heard the garden shears stop. I looked up. She was standing at the far end of her yard. She had been deadheading something along the back fence. She had one glove on and one off. Her feet were bare on the grass, which was damp from an earlier rain, and she was looking at me the way you look at something you weren't sure was going to come back. For about 2 seconds, neither of us moved. Then she set the shears down on the garden bed. Not carefully. Set them down the way you set things down when you've just stopped caring about the task, and she walked across the grass, quickly, then faster, and when she reached the fence, she was close to running, and she didn't stop at the fence. She stepped over the low rail, still moving, 1 foot bare on our side of the property line. And she came to a stop 3 feet in front of me, breathing like she'd run further than she had. I set my bag down. She looked at me. Her hair had a leaf caught in it. I noticed that before I noticed anything else. "You're back," she said. "Yeah," I said. She looked at me for another moment. Then she said, "I fed your plant." I did not have any plants. I had specifically mentioned this before I left. "Claire," I said. "There's a succulent," she said, "on your kitchen windowsill." I could see it from the garden. I didn't have a succulent before I left. She went very still. Not dramatically, just still. "I may have," she said, carefully, "put a succulent there, so I had a reason to have your spare key." That sentence did something to the air between us. I have poor survival instincts around women who feed imaginary plants on my behalf. I can admit that freely. It is not a condition I intend to seek treatment for. I took the key situation in stride, is what I'm saying. The way a man does when he's fairly certain the key was never really about the succulent, and extremely certain he is not going to say so out loud before she's ready. "Is the succulent okay?" I asked. "It's doing very well," she said. "It's been there since November." November was 3 weeks after I left. I stood there, 31 hours of travel in my body and a bag at my feet, and looked at the woman who had planted a succulent in my kitchen window so she would have a reason to keep a spare key to my house, and who had run barefoot across 2 yards to be the first thing I saw when I came back, and who was now looking at me with the specific expression of someone who has just realized their mouth has delivered information slightly ahead of schedule. "How often did you go in?" I said. "Just to water it," she said. "Right. And once to read in there," she said. "The light is better from your chair. My specific chair. It's a very good chair." "Claire," she looked at the fence. "Back at me." Then somewhere around my collarbone, which is where people look when they're trying to decide whether to be honest or tactical, and have run out of time for tactical. "I know," she said quietly. "I know that's a lot of things to explain." "I don't need you to explain them," I said. She looked up. "I brought the thermos home," I said. "From Norway. It's in my bag." She went very still again. Then she looked at the bag on the driveway, back at me. "It still has the sticker," I said. I watched something move through her face. She pressed her lips together. Her eyes went bright in a way she didn't try to hide. She wasn't embarrassed by it. That was the part that got me. She let me see it. "I left you something," she said, "on the fence post. In an envelope." "When?" "This morning," she said. "I was cutting the front hedge and I saw your car was gone when I left for work, and I came back and it wasn't there, and then last week I thought I saw the light on inside." She stopped herself. "I convinced myself I was wrong, and then I went out this morning and I put the envelope on the fence post because I needed somewhere to put it." I looked at the fence post. There was an envelope tucked under one of the gloves. "Can I read it?" I asked. "You were always going to read it," she said. "I just needed you to be home first." The envelope had my name on it in handwriting I recognized from notes that have appeared over the past 2 years, on my fence post, through my letterbox, and once stuck to a bag of tomatoes she'd left on my doorstep with a note that said, "These are better than anything you will buy. Please acknowledge this." I kept the note. I acknowledged it twice. I opened it. There were 4 sentences. I'm not going to say them all. What I will say is that the last one was, "I don't want to have a reason to have your key. I want a reason that doesn't need an excuse." I read it twice. The leaf was still in her hair. Her feet were still bare on the damp driveway. I folded the note carefully and put it in my shirt pocket. I need you to know, I said, that for approximately 4 of the last 6 months I have been lying to myself about a very specific thing. She waited. I told myself I was thinking about home in general, I said, which was technically true. But the specific part of home I kept thinking about was the fence post, and the gloves, and why there's never a matched pair. She laughed. The real one, quick and surprised, the kind she doesn't manage to make small. There's a system, she said. I know there's a system, I said. I don't need to understand it. She was still smiling when she looked at me, but it went quieter. Softer, the kind of expression that lives underneath the one people usually let you see. You could have told me, she said. Before you left, you handed me a thermos at 11 at night, I said. I thought about it. And I thought I'd have time when I got back. You have time now, she said. I took one step toward her. She didn't move back. When something good happened over there, I said, you were the first person I thought about telling, every time. When something went wrong, still you. I paused. You've been the specific part for longer than 6 months. I just needed to get home to say it. She was quiet for a moment. Then she said, the succulent is a peace lily, actually, that is completely incorrect plant taxonomy. It's not a succulent, she said. It needs quite a lot of water. I may have been coming around 3 times a week. I felt something in my chest that I can only describe as a very specific kind of shift. The kind that doesn't announce itself, just moves into place. Claire, I said. Yes, she said. Quietly, the way people say yes when it isn't an answer to a question. I reached out and took her hand. She turned her palm up to meet mine. It was a small thing. It was the whole thing. From her kitchen window, on the other side of the fence, something, a phone, a timer, something she'd left running, made a small, insistent sound. She glanced at it, then back at me. That's my bread, she said. You made bread. I make bread when I'm anxious, she said. I laughed. She did too. She didn't let go of my hand when she led me over the fence. 3 months later, when her colleague Priya asked why she'd started bringing better lunches, Claire said it was because she'd started cooking for 2. I was in the kitchen when she told me this, doing the washing up, and I heard her say it through the phone and then go quiet in the way she goes quiet when she's braced for a follow-up question she hasn't prepared for. I didn't say anything. I kept washing up. Priya apparently said, finally. The next evening she moved the gloves off the fence post. I watched her collect them one by one, pair 3 of the 4, and put them in the shed. What happened to the 4th? I asked. Lost, she said. It's been gone since September. Which September? She looked at me, and the corner of her mouth did the thing it does. The one before I put the succulent in your window, she said. A year after that, when people asked how it started, we had 2 different answers. She said it started with the thermos. I said it started the morning she planted a peace lily in my kitchen and called it a succulent, which is an objectively incorrect botanical classification that she has still never corrected. She says I'm wrong. The story started the first morning. The trivia night. The bin on the wrong day. She says it started the same afternoon it was going to start, and that the rest was just us taking the long way round. She's probably right. She's right about most things. I've learned to say that early, because it saves a lot of time, and because it's true. And because the way her face goes when I admit it has never stopped being worth saying. Nothing about what we are surprised me when I finally let myself see it. It had just been there, patient as a well-tended garden, waiting for someone to stop walking past it and notice. The peace lily is doing very well. She waters it herself now. It's still on my kitchen windowsill, which is her kitchen windowsill, which is ours.